Eyewitness to History, the Vietnam War from the perspective of Kirk Borland. In 1969, at age 24, having completed and exhausted my educational deferment, I was a prime target for an army in need of new recruits. The lottery system had not yet come into use, and thus no sooner had I graduated with my master's in journalism from Northwestern than my notice for induction appeared. Basic training at Fort Polk, Louisiana was followed by advanced training in combat engineers in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, which in turn was followed by 10 weeks at non-commissioned officer school. And before I knew it, I was a staff sergeant in the 65th Engineers on my way to Vietnam. I was posted to the Cu Chi Base Camp, a camp destined to become famous years later when tunnels dug by the Viet Cong were discovered underneath the camp. Today they serve as a tourist attraction. My arrival coincided with the return of my unit from the incursion into Cambodia ordered by President Nixon. I was immediately put in charge of a squad of roughly 8 to 10 men. We spent most of our days blowing up tunnels and building roads out of laterite, a clay, soil, and rock mixture that formed a good base for so-called pioneer roads. Every morning, we would use mine detectors to ensure that no explosives had been planted under the road by the enemy overnight. Then we would go to work extending the road at a pace of roughly a half mile a day. No one really knew where we were headed until one of the infantry soldiers pulling guard duty while we worked told us that we were headed straight for a large minefield created by the enemy. Days later, the project came to an abrupt end, and our entire unit was transferred to a camp just outside of Long Binh. This would be our home for the balance of my time in Vietnam, except for a month when our company was sent to a seaside spot outside Vung Tau, where the Army wanted some beach houses built for officers who were taking in-country rest and recuperation time. Long Binh proved to be interesting duty. We built water towers and did a little more demolition work. But by far, the most rewarding work was done at a Vietnamese village located in a nearby town. Here we built stables for the animals, which had been living under the same roof as the orphans. Once the animals were moved out, we rehabbed and painted the orphanage kitchen area, making it more sanitary. We also built a water tower so they could have running water. This was all part of a program designed to encourage the Vietnamese to see us as friends rather than as an occupying army. Finally, after a total of 10 months in Vietnam, our unit was sent back to the States, and shortly thereafter, I was discharged from my 2-year obligation. None the worse for wear, except for the bleeding from one of my ears due to an explosion that earned me a Purple Heart. But that's another story.